everybody. It's Valerie again with the US Canada portion of Meant to Be Well. It's day 2, and I have an incredible speaker for us today, Celeste Hackett. She is our 7th speaker of the day, and I'm so thrilled to have her talk with us. So, a little bit about Celeste. Celeste is joining us from Dallas, Texas, United States. Celeste Hackett is a renowned hypnosis professional with over 2 decades of experience, specializing in groundbreaking age regression techniques. As a leader at the cutting edge of her field, Celeste has pioneered innovative methods that help clients address deep-seated emotional issues and promote lasting healing. Her unique approach, including the revolutionary UBISE method, sets her apart as one of the top experts in the world of hypnosis. Celeste is the founder of Family First Hypnosis, a practice built on the belief that when one family member makes a change, it positively affects the entire family. A former radio announcer turned subconscious expert, Celeste's exceptional communication skills allow her to connect deeply with clients and audiences alike. She has taught at national levels, led workshops, and now helps people worldwide through virtual hypnosis sessions. When she's not working with clients, Celeste enjoys spending time outdoors, gardening, and connecting with nature. Tune in to discover how hypnosis can bring more peace, clarity, and healing in your life and to your family. So welcome, Celeste. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Well, tell us about hypnosis and its benefits. I'd love to hear more about it.
Well, as far as the benefits go, you just want to think about where you're stuck. Most people will do those, well, most of the people listening to Meant to Be Well are probably, some of them at least, a good deal of them are already working with vision boards and affirmations, and a lot of people who are into this kind of thing, I'm assuming, maybe I'm just assuming wrongly, is they're forward thinking in terms of thinking outside of the box, because you're going to have a lot of out of the box speakers here. And so that's kind of what I work on. I work on things where people are ready to look out of the box, and usually those people have tried a whole lot of other things, and those things have failed for them, so they're in so much pain, they're ready to try something new. And so the benefits, I'm going to go there first, are just getting whatever you want finally done. For instance, I have people who come to see me for various kinds of fears, and they've tried different modalities and it doesn't work. And so now they're just ready to find an answer, and they're ready to go deep. This goes deeper than anything that's out there that I know of. And so the benefits are finally getting the changes that you want, finally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell us some more about how unlocking the subconscious mind can create this lasting change. I mean, I think it's so interesting, what hypnosis is. I feel like I had some kind of thoughts about hypnosis before talking with you about what it is, but it's really an incredible concept that I think sometimes Hollywood, or maybe we have these I don't know, what you think about, oh, it's someone's putting us in a trance, and it's not, it may not necessarily be helpful, but it sounds like so many times it is so helpful. And you're saying, this thinking outside of the box. So let us know some more about that.
Okay, well, Hollywood has showed hypnosis being used in ways that it can't be used. So they make it look magical, and that's kind of fun. But the truth is that this subconscious is what hypnotists are after, to get into the deeper part of you where all of the recordings of your whole life are. And that's exactly what the subconscious is. It is the recording of your life, plus what you thought and felt about those moments as you went through them. And so a good hypnotist is going to take you to, well, let me back up a little bit. A good hypnotist who does age regression, which is my specialty, is going to be able to ask the subconscious to take you to specific moments that added up to where your problem is now. Let me also back up a little bit more, because probably we need to lay some groundwork. What is hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and the hypnotic state is a state that we spontaneously or on purpose slip into. And this state that we slipped into is really an ability, and this ability that we have to access this pool of information, this recording. We can either change the recording somewhat so that what's in there, if it's negative, no longer bothers us, or we can put new stuff in there that we want to affect us. So an example that I always give is recently I was making pancakes and my grandmother's face came to me. And when that happened, I had slipped into a state of hypnosis called somnambulism, because you can't get visuals like that you don't always, like if I don't always have that in my mind, and I don't, and then it comes up, that means that I slipped into somnambulism spontaneously. And then what ended up happening is something random came, which was this image of my grandmother. But the other cool thing about this is that the mind works by association. She used to make me pancakes. I was making pancakes, and so the subconscious shared this with me. So we use all of this knowledge in order to access deep-seated things, all the way to the very root of the root of the root cause. And this is where we stand apart. You see something like EMDR, for example, and a lot of just random subconscious events are coming up. And I love EMDR, but it's not targeted enough. And it along with a lot of modalities will take forever for you to get to the root cause and then overcome what the true root cause is of your problem. So what a hypnotist does, who does age regression like me, is they're going to, instead of taking this, okay, so the client's going into the hypnotic state spontaneously, like I did when I was making pancakes. Mm-hmm. So in a hypnotic state, we want to take someone there on purpose instead of spontaneously, and we do that by way of a hypnotic induction. And we have various ones depending on what the client's needs are, and then we have deepening techniques if they don't go deep enough, because we want a certain depth of hypnosis and there are multiple depths. So we're going to take someone to somnambulism on purpose instead of spontaneously. And we don't want something random like my grandmother's face. We need the root cause of the problem. So we're going to target root cause, and the subconscious, instead of going to something random, will go to something specific. So I know it kind of sounds like we're working with a computer here, and it is a lot like a biological computer. But first you have to have entry, which is somnambulism is the best entry, because you can get some of that very deep stuff where people can revivify these moments, meaning relive them almost as if they are the most real dreams. So you can get very clear on what happened down to the most minute thing, because sometimes it's just a wave of a thought that ends up being problematic. And you can zoom in and zoom out and replay it until you get the idea of what's going on there. And so we want to go into hypnosis on purpose, not spontaneously. And then we don't want random things. We want a very targeted thing, which is root cause. But along the way to root cause, which is going to be when the client is very young, we want some other moments too, so we can see how it built up to where they are now. And so that's what hypnosis is. It's slipping into the ability to have access to this area of the mind that we call the subconscious. Yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that. And we have a question here from Heather. What is your opinion on hypnosis apps such as HypnoCloud?
I think a lot of those apps are good as direct suggestion and visualization, but these are the most basic, antiquated techniques. They're still very, very powerful. But what happens with these apps, and when they give you suggestions to visualize, or they give you positive affirmations or statements, they're all good. I mean, so long as the app is good, you know. I've never known one that was evil, so as far as I know, they're pretty good. And I've listened to a few of them, and I was impressed. But what's happening is that can give people a bit of a boost, and they like it. But what will happen is they'll probably go back to the way they were because they haven't fixed that root cause. The best thing is to remove any problematic thinking, beliefs, and emotions that are getting triggered. And when that's been removed, then put that kind of stuff in. And then that stuff will really have a long-term effect on you.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that information. And I think that, this is just so incredibly fascinating to me that I love how you talk about the comparison between hypnosis and EMDR and this age regression. And there was a technique, this UBISE method. Can you talk with us more about what that is and kind of like how is that or what is that about?
This is my new favorite thing, so I'm more than happy to talk about it.
Okay.
I've done a lot of meditation in my life, and all types of meditation are getting you back to sort of a still state. Most people wish and pray they could stop their mind, right? They could stop thinking. So UBISC stands for the ultimate before the initial sensitizing experience. The initial sensitizing experience is the root cause of the problem. The initial sensitizing experience, ISE. BISE is before the initial sensitizing experience. The ultimate before the initial sensitizing experience is what meditating people in classes are always trying to go after. It's before thought. So it's beautiful and people love it. And most of my clients go there the very first time they come in to see me. From here, they can look forward at their lives and decide what they need to realize in each moment that will change it. So it's just an incredible method where a client is very detached. I mean, a bomb could go off in that moment and they wouldn't be bothered. They'd just be just so calm and peaceful. I happened to slip on to this with my clients. First, I knew about this state of this state in meditation that, it's before it's no mind. And then when I saw my clients kind of going there, I wanted them to find ISE. I wanted them to find the root of the problem. So I kept pushing them to tell me what's happening, but they didn't want to talk because they were in such bliss. They were so peaceful. And then I started thinking, well, isn't that what we're after anyway, for them to be peaceful? Maybe we should really look at what this is. Unfortunately, I haven't tried, but I would be since I know how meditation works, you're meditating. If you can get to that still place, after you open your eyes and the senses start coming alive again and you're back in your world, you can get swept away again and everything. So I've assumed, maybe wrongly, that they can't keep that feeling and just leave my office and they're okay. What happened, because all the stuff starts again, the recordings start getting triggered again. The senses start taking in their information. Life is happening. So now what we need to do instead is fix this old recording, which people might call memory, and these old memories that are attached to whatever problem they're having, because this is the stuff that's getting triggered. Like if you have perhaps, or let's say someone that is very fearful, let's say they're going all day fearful, they might even be diagnosed with anxiety. What's happening is there was an initial moment when they had their first wave of uneasiness, and then multiple moments after that carried some level of fear. Now they have this big pull of fear. And so let's say they're going on in their everyday life in the now, and they're a little bit afraid about something. Well, if they start having too much fear over something small, it's because all of that stuff is being triggered. And so from that UBISE place, we can look at those moments in a better way than they were originally looked at or lived, go through them again with new information or a feeling of that bliss feeling being detached as it's happening. And then it's sort of unflagged and no longer can be triggered anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So then the anxiety goes away, and anxiety or fear, I work on fear, really, not anxiety. Anxiety is a mental health or a medical health word. So I work on fear and worry and nervousness and uneasiness and discontent. And those kinds of feelings are underlying what we might call anxiety. So when they're gone, then clients are surprised that their anxiety goes, even though I'm not directly working on that. I'm working on underlying fears. And that's kind of how I do it. And then those fears are usually causing multiple problems in someone's life. Like that can cause procrastination or not feeling good enough. It can cause them not to move forward and even to drive on highways sometimes. It's got so many different offshoots.
Mm. Yes. And I love the example that you gave the other day when we talked about, like, you had asked me, like, sometimes I'll run late for school with the kids and how I can get frustrated about that, and like kind of working back with what is like the underlying cause. And like, I loved the way you kind of worked, gave that example. Can you share a little bit about that with us, or an example similar?
So what you're saying is a mother that's frustrated with their children.
Yeah, well, frustrated yelling. Let's say I yelled too much. Maybe it was too much that day because we ran late and we were almost late for school.
Yeah. So a lot of times when mothers are ranting or coming unglued over tardiness like that, or just they're trying just to get out the door, and
Yeah.
they're angry and they're frustrated and they've had enough of this because they've told and told and told that child, get your shoes on or find your backpack or you know what time it is, and so they're frustrated because and the reason they're frustrated is because they've been trying and trying and trying to get the kid out the door to get things together, and hasn't happened that day but multiple days. Anytime you have trying and trying and trying, you're going to have frustration. That's where it comes from.
Mm.
Anytime. But underlying the frustration was the original feeling that you were trying to resolve, like you need to be on time so that what won't happen. You're scared something bad might happen. Anytime you have the thought something bad might happen, that's fear. And that's the first feeling. Frustration is second.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and so the underlying fears could be, oh, he's going to get a tardy note, and then the teacher's going to talk to me, and I'm a bad mother, and what if I, can't also stop here before I go to my job, or whatever the fear is, whatever you have to get done. So that's what's really going on, is there's this underlying fear. It can go deeper than that, or have an offshoot too, which is I'm a bad person, I'm a bad mother. All that stuff can come into play in our
Mhm.
lives. And so, yeah, finding the root cause of a frustrated mother usually goes to fear. There's usually going to be a certain amount of feeling like they have something to prove and they care too much what other people think a lot of times.
Mhm.
And then often, especially you see this with mothers who are maybe they've remarried and they feel bad for their kid that they weren't able to, the marriage didn't last, and so or it just could be for any reason they just don't want to set boundaries with their kids, or they feel mean if they are doing that. So a lot of mothers have fear of their kids not liking them, so they really need to learn to be a bit tougher and stand up to their own children, and probably their first instinct of saying no and watching a child have a meltdown occasionally isn't really that bad, and being able to stand and go, get
Mhm.
that out, son, and you're going to feel so much better when you do, and then we'll move on.
Mhm.
So a lot of it can be fear of just doing something bad to their kids when really they're just parenting.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, like I said, worrying about what others think of you. So there's a lot of different stuff that can be going on with that.
Yeah. And it sounds like hypnosis, like working with that, can help with all of those kind of underlying the root causes, you say.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what we do. We go all the way back to the beginning. With mothers, it's often that you're going to see that their parents were like that too. Their mother was like that.
Mhm.
Their mother was nervous. Their mother was someone who was very anxious about things. Maybe a perfectionist. Maybe this mother could be a perfectionist too. A high achieving mother is, usually going to try to get everything right all the time, which is a lot of fear of what others think of you is usually involved in that. And then you'll also see with these mothers, there's in some way they're also procrastinating because they have a fear of failure. So they're not always able to go through with a lot of the projects and dreams that they have. But in early childhood, it's often about a mother like that. And I'm not saying these mothers are bad. I'm just saying this is just motherhood. It's just what
Mhm.
happens. And
Yeah.
then you go earlier than that. And there's going to be a time when like a baby or an infant feels like the mother's attention isn't there, because that's definitely going to happen. A mother can't always be
Mhm.
every second concerned about what the child is thinking and wanting. In fact, that wouldn't even be particularly healthy. They need to learn to self-soothe. But then you go earlier than that, you go to the womb and you'll start seeing like the mother, if this kind of mother's often nervous even when she's pregnant, and the child inside can pick up things. And then then you can go before that, and then you go all the way back to UBISE, where all of a sudden I'm out of that and I'm still. So then going forward, I can ask my client, okay, when you're in the womb here at 6 months old, this place we just were, and your mother's nervous, and that made you nervous. I mean, that's her fear, not yours, isn't it? So you stay as this, as she's feeling that, and let's see if you can do that. We'll go into that moment, and my client can almost always not be bothered by that this go round going forward. When that happens, that's the root cause in many cases. That's unplugged or unflagged and cannot be triggered anymore. But then there's all these other moments after that. We have to find some way to make those moments no longer have the power that they originally had. These are just recordings. These are just recordings. So sometimes just to go through it knowing this is a recording, don't get involved in it, don't take it too seriously as we go forward. Many times that alone can unflag that memory, but I'll double check. I'll have them go through it a few times, making sure that they're holding on to that original piece they have at UBISE. And so I just keep doing that all the way up to the present time, and then you'll find that they're not so bothered by being late, and they're able to say no and whatever else they need to do. And most mothers know how to do that. They just haven't done it yet because they're kind of frazzled, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Once they feel more confident, and this will make them more confident because this fear isn't being triggered, then they know what to do usually.
That's incredible. I love how you explain that, and you gave all those, just really, that makes so much sense, all those examples. And it sounds like, I mean, hypnosis can be beneficial for so many things. I know you talked about fear. Fear is a big one, with like trauma as well. Is there, like, what other types of things can hypnosis be beneficial for? Or what do you see sometimes?
Well, what I'm seeing a lot of is all kinds of fear right off the bat. And if someone comes in for something else, I'm usually still having to work with fear because many times it is underlying just about everything. But I do see a lot of habitual things like eating too much, or eating too much carbs, or eating too much sugar. So these are my weight loss clients. These are some of my favorite clients because weight loss is a tricky thing. That's why people have such trouble with it. And so there's an emotional component of eating, and then there's a habitual component of eating, and then there's sometimes things that happened in childhood that they just made a decision of some sort that caused it, that went subconscious, that it's hard for them to get out of it. So weight loss is a big one. Another thing is anything like vaping or chewing tobacco or smoking, any of the nicotine habits. I don't work with drugs or alcohol, but after someone comes out of rehab, I can help them so they don't go back to drugs and alcohol better than rehab can. If someone's dabbling in something, like they're kind of like playing around with a drug, or they're not really, they haven't been diagnosed as dependent on it, but they know they're going down a wrong path. I have somebody like that right now that I'm working with. I can help them to pull back from that. Once they're all the way in their use of drugs or alcohol, by law, I have to refer them to an alcohol and drug counselor, but I do work with I get referrals sometimes. I work with procrastinators and people who are just overwhelmed at work or overwhelmed in their life, and they just feel like they're frozen, that they can't do anything, or they have all of these ideas, all of these dreams, but when it comes right down to it, they have pain in their chest or their stomach, or just body goes into fibromyalgia or something like that, where they have this body pain, or all of a sudden they'll start getting other symptomology like headaches or something, and they just can't move forward because it stresses them out so much. So in working with that recording that we're talking about in the subconscious, as you neutralize these moments, that's taking up your bandwidth. So when that's done, you're free and you can start doing things. You can get on with your projects, and so it's very nice for people. I work with things also, speaking of fears, like fear of flying and fear of giving presentations and talking, one-on-one in sales. I do a lot of help a lot of people with sales. I help a lot of people who are second guessing themselves in various ways. For instance, people who are playing the stock market, they might be good at really making decisions in the stock market, choosing stocks and stuff, and then all of a sudden they're not anymore, and they'll tell me I was doing good until, I'll find out what happened then, and I'll uncover some fear. So there could be a part that's sort of protecting them, which is just some fear that got into this whole scheme of things. So when you neutralize that, then they're back to going with their gut feeling on things. I'm somebody who loves working on mysterious underlying causes of mysterious health issues. I usually will work by referral, but a lot of times if I'm working on things like anger or fear or guilt or sadness or loneliness, and this is an issue for someone, a lot of times a lot of these kinds of things like migraines and some of these things like stomach issues and so on, they will just completely go away on their own once you neutralize the emotions held subconsciously. So because of that, I'll have people come in with like acid reflux or reflux, IBS, like I said, migraines, fibromyalgia. One of my favorite stories is about a lady who had functional neurological disorder. The doctors told her, the neurologist told her, we cannot help you. This is something we don't know how to fix. And she would freeze at night, and her husband had to spoon feed her because she couldn't move. And this was happening every night. And so we did this work with her. And as we uncovered shame and guilt, embarrassment, loneliness, fear, anger, and we neutralized it with various techniques, she was able to get over that completely. So there's a lot of things when they seem mysterious and doctors can't figure them out, or you can't figure them out. Just it might be that there's a subconscious component to it because it's so deeply embedded. That's what the subconscious is, below consciousness. So you'll be saying something like this. It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. When you start saying that, it's usually a subconscious problem. So I love working with those kinds of health issues. And I do work with children sometimes. I often will work with anxious children. I work with people who have gone off to college, but then they get nervous, young kids, they're teens and 20s, and they're coming back and they just can't do college because their bandwidth is already full from all the social media and everything. They've been taking in all this stuff and all the bullying at school. It's a very different environment at school now than when I went to school. So all this stuff is already built up so much. So I'll work on them and help them. And so these are some of my favorite things that I love to work with.
Oh, it's incredible, Celeste. It's such an incredible possibility is that hypnosis offers that you're working with. It's amazing. Now, Celeste, can you tell us, you see clients from all over the world and do virtual sessions. Is that correct?
Yes, I do virtual sessions.
Yeah.
And the one question that I get all the time is, does it work just as well? It absolutely does, because at the end of the day, I'm just going to have you close your eyes and listen to me and answer questions. And I might have you experience or tune into something within yourself. And you can do that. There's no energetic magic happening between me. I don't have any special powers like that. It's all about what's coming up for you. Like what's now coming up for you. Now what's coming up for you. And just asking the subconscious, like I'll have someone focus on, let's say they have the urge to smoke. They might not even know, but that urge is made up of emotions. Anytime you have an urge to drink or smoke or eat, and it's an urge you don't want, the urge is made up of emotion. So I'll have my clients focus on an urge. And then as their attention is on it, I'll ask the subconscious to find an earlier time when they felt that way and bring it to their attention. And then I'll say, okay, it's found it, what's happening? And they'll tell me. And it's the coolest thing. But you can see this kind of thing doesn't require that I'm touching anyone or that there's an energetic connection. Now, clients around here, if they live here, they prefer to come see me in person. And I don't mind that because I love people. But my clients outside of Dallas are generally doing virtual sessions.
That's amazing. And we have a question here about a pendulum to get one into deep sleep. Is that something that is part of it?
There are hypnotists that work with pendulums. It's just not my thing. So
Yes.
I remember in school, like 20 years ago, learning about it. Here's the thing about hypnosis. Hypnosis is just that ability you slip into. Now, once you got somebody there into their own ability to access this information or put something else in there, there's multiple ways of uncovering moments that you might want to relook at. I could see a pendulum being used for that. It's just not my expertise.
Mhm,
And I'm not going to diss it because there's all kinds of interesting tools out there.
mhm,
And so there's also other kinds of hypnotic processes that I respect. Like there's conversational hypnosis. It's not my thing. There's a neuro linguistic programming, which actually isn't hypnosis. But when you have a tool like that, any tool that you use for the mind that's not hypnosis, you can use that tool in hypnosis and it'll be even more powerful. EFT, I love EFT. Most people know about it if they've been trying to work on themselves because it's an easy thing to learn and you can get free training and it's all over the internet. If you have someone in a hypnotic state and you use EFT, it's going to work even better. Um, so there's a good direct suggestion hypnotist. I
mm.
do use direct suggestion. There's not a hypnotist that I know that doesn't. You have to. But for uncovering things, the best thing I've ever found, and it's why I do it so much, is age regression. And it's also the hardest thing for a hypnotist to get really good at. So that's why I poured myself into it because it has the biggest bang for your training and the biggest bang for the client in terms of the buck and all of that.
That's fascinating, Celeste. Well, Celeste, as we wrap up here, I want you to share with us where we can find you. I have your website scrolling down there and also be in the chat. But is that where we can access all the information that you have and be able to learn more?
Yeah, I'm also on social media, Celeste.hypnotist on TikTok. And you can find me at Family First Hypnosis on both Facebook and YouTube. And this is my website. You can even call me and text me and say you'd like to talk to me. I offer free telephone consultations. If you're not quite sure this is for you, I'll ask you some questions. I won't take on a client unless I know I can help them or I have a very high certainty that I can because I like to keep my success rate high. So that requires a bit of a consultation to double and triple check. And so I offer a free 30-minute consultation. My phone number is 972-673-0110. Just give me a text. I'll probably send you to my website to set up a consultation there. So you could just go there if you want, but those are the best ways to reach me.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Celeste. I have all of that in the show notes, and I really appreciate the time that you have taken today to talk with us about hypnosis. It's incredible power. And thank you so much for everyone in the comments as well. It had
Yes.
been an interactive conversation.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. This was fun. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.